welcome to the Arachnos podcast. I'm here today with my colleague Laura Palczynski, and we are talking cross-exchange visits. Laura is going to tell us about the recent cross-exchange visit which she coordinated on behalf of the Arachnos project. So, Laura, can we kick this off with you briefly outlining what a cross-exchange visit actually is and what it sets out to achieve?
Yeah, so a cross-exchange visit in the initial plan for the Arachnos project were going to be physical cross-exchanges, meeting between projects and users and different actors to learn from each other, give feedback on different aspects, and share knowledge, basically. Unfortunately, with the current global pandemic situation, thanks to COVID-19, our cross-exchange visits in Arachnos had to be converted to online cross-exchanges. So a range of 15 being conducted for Arachnos, and I feel we're responsible for one. So I approached this by going, I'm also part of another thematic network project, Disarm. So thinking along those lines, Disarm partners had shown some interest in sharing a knowledge base or learning more from other livestock projects. So I thought, great. So we did our webinar on learning and collaborating across EU projects focused on livestock. And we really wanted to focus on the exchange. So it was really interactive, and it wasn't just me giving a presentation for the full hour and a half that we were doing the meeting for.
So, Laura, tell us, how did you actually adapt this to work online in this new COVID world? What online tools did you use? How did you ensure that other members of the CEV were fully engaged?
Yeah, so the cross-exchange visit, or CEV, as you just said, we used Microsoft Teams because that's what we use in our organisation. Another call or webinar program would have worked just as well, I'm sure. And then alongside our call, we were using Mentimeter for some quick feedback surveys in the introductions to find out where people were from, what projects they were representing. And then for the more in-depth interactive sessions later on in the webinar, we used Mural, which is like an online interactive whiteboard where everyone can add sticky notes and type in their responses, and we can have a joint brainstorming session there.
Wow, that does sound interesting. It's amazing what we can do online. And just going back to the subject focus, can you tell me a little bit more about that and what you set out to achieve by focusing the CEV around this topic?
Yeah, so basically we wanted to focus on networking between various different projects around livestock production, livestock health, in order to learn from each other, because there's a massive number of projects going on and it can be difficult to really keep on top of who's who and what they're all doing. So we actually ended up with participants from 16 different projects according to our Mentimeter exercises. And so what we really wanted to do was giving the opportunity to introduce different projects. So we had 5 flash presentations from different projects, and as I said, we were interacting about the interactive sessions, discussing how we wanted to engage end users, how we can increase impact and sustainability. So how do we make sure that the findings from the projects live on beyond just the funding period? Also, in line with the Arachnos aims to develop a common EU platform of agricultural knowledge, looked for what our participants thought a digital online platform should focus on and look at. And then finally, we also wanted to give our the attendees an opportunity to say what they think the European Commission could do to support future projects in their sustainability and impact, because we know that that's a real challenge for projects. And so we also had a section on that, which will help to inform our policy brief in Arachnos as well. So win-win for us.
Lots of topics covered, certainly. And what feedback did the Eurachnos project receive? I imagine that's something that was discussed, and it was interesting to have feedback from other projects around the Eurachnos project. What conclusions did you take from that?
Yes, so with Eurachnos, we had a quick introduction where we talked about having the TN guide, which will be ready shortly. We talked about having this developing of the platform, which our initial work developing a blueprint and prototype for what a platform could look at, and that our sister project Eureka is taking that and building it into Farm Book to include not just thematic network knowledge, but also multi-actor projects from the EU generally. So we introduced that, and the idea, as I said, of a common platform. I think the attitude was more maybe a whole project, a whole sector of agriculture and forestry that's really wide and vast. So perhaps looking more thematically at livestock health or livestock as an area, and kind of having those branches of forestry, not my area of expertise, that maybe needs to be broken down a bit more, but crop farming, livestock, and separating them out into different arms, maybe under an umbrella platform.
Yeah, I imagine that was quite a useful insight. And just to sort of wrap it up, Laura, what advice would you give someone thinking about doing an online meeting or an online webinar? What would be your biggest take-home message from the event?
Yep, I think keep it interactive. So we had a little bit of feedback, and as I said, we allowed some opportunities for external presenters. We gave them 5 minutes, told them 5 minutes for their flash presentation of their projects. Everyone went a little bit over, so we had to shorten our interactive sessions slightly to keep within the overall time of the webinar. And the feedback on that was they felt a little bit rushed in the interactive parts. But yeah, that focus on don't just give a lecture, really try to involve people, try to be creative. If you don't have subscription to something like Mural, although most of these online platforms do offer a free trial period, but yeah, if you don't have something like that, use the chat function on your calls, invite people to unmute themselves and get involved in the chat, and really try to create engagement.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Laura.
Oh, thanks, Martha.
Thanks for talking to us.
The Eurachnos project has received funding from the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Programme under Grant Agreement number 817863.
Royalty-free music from Ben Sound.